What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTuberverse? I'm back again with another video, but this time more about the fish tank. It is clearing up some. I have a little light over there and everything. You can see how foggy it is. I put that light there to give you guys an idea of the schmutz through here. So we've added some stuff. I'm going to be doing a partial water change with all this mess. Let me get up here because that is not visible. And I will, of course, adjust the camera accordingly and everything, but I'm going to show you this tank from a bit of a outward perspective, how to clean up some of it and all this duckweed and everything, and then talk about how things are coming together at the same time. Anywho, just give me one moment and we'll flip this around and get this video started proper. Alright, now that is not too bad with all that light and stuff. You can sort of see to the back of the tank what those are, some Mopani wood pieces, but it does give a almost like it's a nice little sunset effect. I'm digging that right there. You can see the fish floating by. And you can see my reflection right there. Hey, people, what is up? I think we're good to go with this right here. So, normally, when it comes to the stuff like the duckweed and whatnot, I like to kind of work off the top where I got bubbles and stuff, right in this corner, kind of a deal. Normally, we got to scrape the duckweed off the top because the bubbles will pop them up there. I already did a lot of this beforehand because I just started doing it without thinking. And then also we got some plants kind of stuck in those bubbles there. So these guys, I believe if I remember, it is called a Necrosis. I have to be careful with that because I play a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom and there is an Arcus or something character that's a mummy, and I usually mix them up the way I'm supposed to say it. And that's what you get for being, you know, a somewhat silly nerdy hippie guy. And with this, so down here, moss bridge, you got a fern kind of growing in this spot. These are Mopani wood pieces right here. I found some really fun pieces. That's one of my loach buddies hanging around right there. And this right here is a wisteria plant that will be growing in, doing its thing. You can't really see it too good. But what we're going to do is do a partial water change. Show you how to do that. So I start with the container like this. I already have been taking some of the duckweed out from up here and everything. Duckweed grows in such a ferocity that is actually really funny. You can get rid of a lot of it, but what I'm doing with it, I'm not throwing it away and I'm not dumping it. So to give you an idea of what's happened with the water, look at all that right in there and how dirty that is in a smaller surface. This is all sediment. This is all sediment and gnats kicked up by all those snails and everything. I've been putting a lot of a good sort of like oil into it, a chemical sort of deal. I wouldn't call it chemicals. Hold on a second, enjoy the fish tank while I'm off screen here dumping this. I am professional. Hooray for me. Alright, so this stuff pristine. It's great, like I was saying, for tanks like mine that don't use filters. I use bubbler and I do have live plants and you can't see it, but there is a heater back in there. What I'm doing now is I'm doing this over here by the bubbles and being very careful not to get any baby guppies or anything, because I do have a lot of them in there, which is why I'm using such a large thing like this to kind of siphon what I can out of there. And I do have some like floating snail shells and stuff. Look at how much that is and how, those are good sized roots too up in here. I don't know how that's showing on that. I don't know how if we got blur or not. I am not reviewing this right now. I'm just winging it, folks. Well, by winging it, I mean this whole video part thing. I know this part really good, which is why I'm doing this. I'm trying to help out with that. Now, there's my buddy up here, Summers. He is a betta fish, if you have not known about him. He does have one eye. It is very common for Dumbo-eared betta fish to have one eye or both eyes cataracts or even just blindness. Also, spine curves and stuff are common with bettas. You can see all my little baby guppies coming around and stuff too. They love hanging around this plant. Guppies do like to snip at plants, algae, stuff like that. So to have live plants, if you're trying to breed guppies, it's almost a must. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but one of my ghost shrimp are right there under, climbing around. Now the size of what that is, she looks to be a female. That's what that is. Here, I can actually try and show you guys what I'm seeing. Give me one moment. So, if they can focus some,
You can see her somewhat. She's kind of right in here. Very hard to see. You can definitely see her stomach. And the stomachs are kind of at the top of the head for shrimp. In fact, a lot of creatures that are oceanic creatures have all their stuff kind of shoved up towards the top of their system there, because that is allowing them to kind of pass everything easily. The water world has more density, more buoyancy to it. So even when turtles, when they are hibernating for long times, in fact, they will urinate, gross little fact, but they will urinate out of their throats for that reason, being underwater like that. That's a pretty little guppy right there, goodness. And as you can see, yes, this is a reptile hammock, but it's doing so well in here with these guys, and everyone hangs around it and climbs on it. Yeah, she's still picking. Oh, you can see her a little better like that. But let me show you what's at the top now. So, as you saw before, it was like that. Now it's looking much clearer. I cleaned up a lot of that in there. And then you got my plants and stuff floating on the top. And if I do have the name of some of these plants wrong, I do apologize. I have quite a few plants, and sometimes I will mix some things up because you have a Nacarus and a Nubius, and even though they look nothing alike, I will sometimes say it wrong. So, but I do like how these guys are growing in, and they need low light. These are a lot of low, dim lighting plants. This is not a wisteria, actually, and I'm thinking about it. I almost bought one. This is a different plant, and I can't see it as well, and I forgot exactly what it's a water sprite. I got a water sprite, I believe is what that one is. But I'll have to double check on that. I'm confused myself, actually, on that. But, hey, that's why I like having y'all talk to me, too, about this, because if I'm wrong, and y'all tell me what's up, I'm more than happy to admit I'm wrong, and use your example of what is right. Now, when it comes to cleaning and stuff with the tanks and what type of tanks are, this is not a favorite style. In fact, this is a lot darker and dirtier than I like, but I had a bladder snail and trumpet snail sort of like invasion deal, and that really made things a lot rough. A lot more rough than it should be. I do have a dark water effect, though, because again, the Mopani wood was not treated before putting it in. I put right in to get those tannins in. With this plant, you can actually see, so what a lot of plants will do, a lot of plants will go ahead and start shedding out old leaves if they were kind of grown in air, and then new shoots, brighter, greener plants will come up behind it. So be very careful. Do not throw your plant away prematurely if you feel like it's starting to die. Make sure that you pay attention to where it's from. If it's from a tube, it's going to shed its leaves. It's going to look like it's wilting at first, but it'll come back stronger with its new leaves. So please be careful. Don't get rid of your plants until you're absolutely sure what's going on. And honestly, most of the time, you don't have to get rid of the plants. As long as the roots are there, the plant will always bounce back, which is why this little fern here is kind of like how it is. Poor thing got tore up, but it went to floating around for a bit, and the roots kept growing. It's surviving, and it's bouncing on back as it should. With my buddies and stuff looking after them, all those ghost shrimp there, look at those jumping around. That's why they call them ghost shrimp. You can almost not see them. But messing that around and getting these plants moving about and putting stuff into different lighting and everything is going to definitely help bounce back what's been going on with this. But that is just a small bit of what I do. And then, of course, I have treated water, which I will go ahead and show you with that in a second. But the treated water, usually to chlorinate and everything, make sure that's good. And then I usually let it sit out for a bit. So I'm checking it now. I'm going to take the temperature, I'm going to check the temperature with my hand is what I'm trying to say. Sorry about that. I know how to word good. No, I don't. I do. No, I don't. All right, we're back. And then let me show you a trick. I'm going to go back to the little tripod thing here, and I'm going to put a view to show you a fun trick about pouring water back into your tank. I'm only doing a small amount. Normally, what you would do with your fish tank, so with something about this size right here, if you're doing a full water change and you do not have live plant, or don't do a full water change if you don't have live plants, or don't do a full water change at all, you would want to do a partial water change. I'm not doing the full partial is what I was trying to say. So I took a little bit off the top here, just a little bit just to show you guys some of what I do. Because of all the live plants and how this duckweed's just going to spread right out across the top again, I'm not too worried. My filtration system is going to be doing fine. It's natural. But you do want to take out about, for a tank this size, you want to do 25, 30% like that on an average. Usually once a week, bi-weekly, anything you'd want to do with that. You can actually honestly probably go a month with lower stocking before having to change out any water and just kind of do top offs or something. But this is where knowing your tank and doing study comes in mind with that. Because with me, I know I don't really have to do water changes all that much. I've been doing some smaller water changes and adding in the stuff that I showed you to kind of counteract what's happened with all this. But when you have the backlighting, that is a fun look. But I do want to see the back of my tank again. It has been a couple of months with it like this. And yes, bacterial blooms and algae blooms of that kind of nature can take a while. And it is delicate. Because if you go too much too fast, you're going to kick it up all over again. Now, if it does keep kicking up, check how much you're feeding. You would want to check how much your size of fishes or how many fishes. And you usually want to balance it out 1 inch of fish or aquatic creature per 1 gallon of tank. That is a rule of thumb. It's a bit of a looser rule, but it'll keep you from nitrate and ammonia problems and stuff like this happening. I had an invasive snail problem, which caused this, but as you can see, we're coming back. If you've seen old videos of what the tank was before this and when it was bad, it wasn't great. But my fish are living, they're thriving. Obviously, there are babies being born, so the fish themselves do not find the water an uninhabitable sort of condition, but I do want it to be better for them. I feel like even though it's murky like this and nasty and they don't care that much, it's showing me that there's a bacterial problem. And though it's not dangerous yet, unchecked, it can destroy an entire ecosystem. So let me show you a little trick I was telling you all about pouring water back up onto the top of the tank, and we're going to end the video there for today. Appreciate you those who've been watching up to this point, and hope you can watch the next minute or two at the end. It's just something fun. It's nothing crazy. It's just a trick. Well, that had just started, so you're going to have to apologize. I have to apologize for the noise because I live next to neighbors. They're doing yard work. While that's going on, I call it background music if you want, but a good trick I have, put your hand under the water when you're boring to help break it so you're not bouncing all that water down to the bottom of your tank and hitting the surface real hard and stirring up sediments. Because even if you're using gravel or something, you hit it with enough water, it'll move it around and send it up through the air. So doing this here and helps you also kind of pour it not too quick. Because you see I started to lean a little fast, started to come down really fast. But because my hand's breaking it up, all of that will not disturb the bottom of the tank, and it won't really pound a bunch of water pressure down on the heads of my little fish friends and all that. And then with that, I am watching carefully. I want to try and get the water as close to the lip of this bottom part of the sort of plastic part of the tank, and then not too much more after that. And then this is why I put a bag on the top part that's back here, because normally this is meant for a filter space, and I do not use that filter. So, and then with that there, that kind of puts us to where I like to be. And that didn't really do much, any disturbing at all. In fact, real quick, while I got this, ooh, that was fun. I'm sure you guys enjoyed that spot. All right. There it is. You can see even the betta fish is up there just hanging out while I poured all that water and stuff over the top of it. I got it right there at the lip, so it's right behind where that water at. We're at a very good spot right there with everything. So with that, folks, this mower and everything's going to make it very hard to do any more with this video. So for tonight, for today, for this evening, morning, whenever you are here, thank you for watching and have yourself a good one.